I'd like to thank Gilded.gg for sponsoring this video again. Now, Gilded is a longtime supporter of this channel and has just launched their scrim finder for Overwatch, making it easy to find teams to practice against and to play against, which I know a lot of people have a problem finding. Now, they're running a matchmaking system this weekend, Friday and Saturday, so if you're up for that, ready up your team and schedule a match this weekend at Gilded.gg/matchmaking. So, today I'm going to be talking about SHADDER2K playing Genji. Now, we've seen this guy play Genji a lot in the past. Genji's pretty much always been a top tier, and Shadow's been a player that's been playing him for a long time. And I guess that's a good thing because you can play Genji, and he's probably going to be pretty good almost every single meta except for pure tank metas. But the problem is that you have to be really good at Genji in order to play him because there's so many other good Genjis. Now, sorry if I'm a little bit slow this game. I did just try to record this exact same video with the same tips, and everything just got deleted because of my recording software. But whatever, I'll try to get through it as easily as possible again. Back to the tips in the video itself, though. Right there at the beginning, we saw him, of course, spamming at the Junkrat trap. You do want to make sure that you take that out before anything else. You know, it just counters you really hard. And I know that a lot of people just try to go around it, try to ignore it. That's not something you should try to do. You should try to finish off the trap and then go in. And one thing about going in is that you shouldn't really try to do it by yourself. I know a lot of Genjis think, you know, the pro Genjis can go in 1v5, they can win like that, they can just carry if they're really good. That doesn't always happen. If you don't have your ultimate and nobody's really low on the enemy team, you're probably not going to kill them and you're probably just going to end up dying and throwing. Instead, what you should do is wait up, wait for your team, get ready for those kills, and then go in. Right here we actually saw that something that was pretty good. He started to spam, you know, got his damage out, and then you got a pick going around the side. I think you might want to keep in mind is that if you're getting stuck, you know, in open ground and high ground and wherever, maybe go around somewhere else and try different entrances, try different times to go in with your teammates, go in without your teammates, and just try a lot of different stuff and see what works. I know a lot of people kind of get their mindset on doing this one thing, you know, guys, let's push left, let's get in through this, we can do it, and it never really works out for them. Shadder doesn't really do that. He goes all over the place, spams a ton of damage all over the place, and as you see, it worked out pretty well. Now, unfortunately, his team was kind of dead right there, so whatever, that just kind of happens sometimes, but that is, you know, just something that you kind of want to keep in mind. Speaking of something else you want to keep in mind, make sure to always spam out shurikens literally all the time. We see Shadder doing this, except for, you know, when he already has his ultimate out, but it allows for the chance of getting picks, and mainly it allows that you can charge up your ultimate really quickly. As far as watching Shadder, I think he charges up his ultimate faster than just anybody else I know, because he always is spamming out these shurikens. And as well, one thing nice about the shurikens is that if you're spamming them out, it forces either the enemy off of high ground or off of their really good position. Right here, for example, with that soldier, he has to back off a little bit to dodge the shurikens, and then he just can't really get his damage out as easily. Right here, of course, our Genji player jumps directly onto the enemy Mercy, and that's just something that's going to be working really well with Genji from now on. Now, of course, when Mercy is ulting, you shouldn't really be trying to go for her while she's in the air, but if she's in a really closed door, like she was just there, you can go in and you can kill her and you can bait her into that. But if she doesn't have ultimate up, and you do, that's a free kill, and that's essentially a free reset, because she's going to have to wait 1.75 seconds to get, you know, the res off. She's probably not going to get the res off. And yeah, just going for that. When you see a Mercy resing and you have ultimate up and you're ready to go in for that fight, just take it. Honestly, every single freaking time. One thing I want to mention right here, you know, he does use high ground. That's something that's nice to do. He could have just immediately, you know, walked directly towards the soldier right there, tried to finish him off. Maybe he could have, maybe he couldn't have. But there was no real purpose to try to take a risk like that. If he instead just waits a little bit, goes on high ground, you know, makes it the soldier can't really kill him, but so that he can still block off the soldier's path on his way back, that's simply good enough for the most part. And if the soldier couldn't have gotten healing a little bit faster, then Genji could have easily killed the soldier. I guess something about Genji you should keep in mind also is that if people aren't really below like 3/4 HP, it's really hard for you to kill them. And if somebody's getting healed and you don't have your ultimate up, it's also really hard to kill them. So don't really go after kills like that, I guess. That's just, you know, the main thing to try to keep in mind. Let's continue. Oh, right here, it's something kind of nice. You know, when the enemy is flanking or trying to flank, just spam your damage at the flankers. Oftentimes, you're just doing nothing, you're waiting for an engage, and you can actually protect your flankers pretty well. Right now, we're seeing the Winston jump on us, we're seeing a lot of other people. Of course, the Tracer that SHADDER2K is spamming a ton at. it's a good idea to go for all of that stuff. I think a Zeno comes up right here. Unfortunately for Shatter, of course, he does also get hit away from the Winston, or by the Winston, and overall his team just kind of gets wiped. But the thing that was good about that team fight is that since Shatter did use his ult, it baited out so many enemy ultimates, and now they're up a ton of ults, so now they can win the next team fight. So that's probably going to help him, just win this game overall. If you're up ultimate, you can win, and especially if you're on offense, if you can bait a lot of ults, it's worth it to go for that. Right there, we saw Shatter again jumping on the backline. When you're jumping on somebody like Zenyatta though, or really anybody in the backline, make sure that you go in, try to get your kill, and if you can't get it, just get out. Because sometimes, as we see right here, if you get out and then come back in later, you can just pick everybody off. Really, as this character, you have to be like a super opportunist. If the opportunity is really good for you and you see the chance that you can get a kill, go for it. Take it. Try to win with that. But if the opportunity is not looking way too well, just try to get away, spam some damage, charge up your ultimate, and go for it later. That's just the way to play Genji, honestly. And I know a lot of people want to go in, they want to try to win, 1v5 by themselves, 1v6, whatever. It doesn't really work way too well. Unless either the enemies are really low health, the enemies don't have their crowd control up, the enemies have used all their damage, used their ultimates, or if your team is taking a lot of the blunt of the damage. If any of those are going, then you can win, but by yourself, you probably can't. So you should wait for your team, as you saw a few seconds ago. Alright, here Shatter's spamming a ton of damage, again protecting his Mercy, something he does quite often, always stays in the backline with his backline until, he jumps onto the enemy backline for the most part. And as far as, his main damage, I know that a lot of Genjis go for a ton of right clicks, and he does right there, when you're very close to the enemy and you're going to hit all the right clicks, do go for it because it does more damage. But if you want to just charge up your ult really quick, we're actually seeing Shatter spam so much primary fires. And for the most part, he's just going for body shots because it's better to hit, of course, 1 or 2 body shots than 0 headshots. Right there, of course, that was great. Shatter just walks up and immediately goes for his ultimate on the not on the Genji, on the Soldier and on the Mercy. A thing to mention though, or note, is that he didn't Swift Strike into the Mercy and the Soldier. Instead, he just walks up, hits them, Swift Strike, hits them again, and they're dead. That gives you more damage. That makes it that if they start to run away somehow or they get shielded, you still have the ability to run away yourself and attack later. It's overall just better if you just kind of get in before you actually you waste your Swift Strike, I guess, for the most part. They're kind of finishing off the point right here, pushing up, getting damage on everybody. Again, what he does do often is back behind the enemies, get a lot of flanks off, and it works out for the most part pretty well. Right now, everybody's getting a bit of healing from the enemies and a bit of damage boost, but it's not going too bad. The majority of his team is still up, and his ultimate is almost up as well right now. He's been spamming a lot of damage onto the enemy tanks, trying to also get into the back line. And remember that if your ultimate is really low and you're trying to just finish off the last point, you spamming damage into the enemy tanks might be better than you actually getting picks, because if you can get your ultimate and get a team wipe at the end, that's going to win the game, while getting a few picks won't really, end off the match. It might help a little bit, but it won't really end off the match. And I guess one final thing about that last point is that during the last point, try to stay near the enemy spawn for spawn kills if humanly possible, but also stay close enough to your own cart that you can go back and help your team against the tanks, because you do still do a decent amount of damage against the tanks. Not way too much, but a decent amount. And you don't want to be wasting that, just waiting for people to spawn all the time. The best thing is to kill someone at spawn and then shift back onto the tanks. You can't always get that, but if you can, it's pretty nice. Anyways, we're here now on Genji on defense. Genji on defense, I'm going to say you can do, but it is really awkward. And the thing you should keep in mind is that it's really hard compared to most other heroes. Most heroes on defense, you can just spam out a ton of damage, like McCree and Soldier and everything like that, and you'll be fine. You can just kind of keep going in, keep dealing damage, everything like that, get on high ground, and you'll be good. But with Genji, you do have to be a lot more opportunist again. You have to go, for example, on this Mercy in the backline. You have to often go in with your team. And for the most part, you just have to make sure that you're just taking anything that the enemies give to you. If they're split up even a little bit too much, you got to take that out. If they're pushed up even a little bit too much, like we see right here with this McCree, you got to try to take him out. Otherwise, just your damage doesn't really, it's just not really as effective as a lot of other characters on defense. So you do have to just be super opportunist. During this game, he does have a Mercy. That's a good thing. If you can possibly get a Mercy on defense, I think that's the best thing to do as this character, because it allows so that even if you make a few mistakes, or even if you go 1-for-1, it's still pretty good. And you do often have to go really ham as this character, and sometimes you might go a little bit too ham and die. That's okay if you do have the Mercy, especially if you have the res. Alright, now we see him, again, getting some damage on the tanks, trying to charge up of his ultimate. He doesn't immediately go after the Mercy or immediately ult the Mercy. Instead, he waits for the Mercy to go next to this guy, but realizes that his team is down quite a few kills, and they're probably not going to win it, so he doesn't waste his ultimate. He could have wasted his ultimate right there, but he's smart, he waits, and he does, get it charged up pretty quick. You should try to wait on your ultimate, though, because if you know that your team is going to lose that team fight and you waste your ult, while you might save the fight, if you're down 3 or 4 people, you still might lose the 1v1 with the last guy. While if you wait for the next fight, as you see right here, you can win that and, just kind of go in from there. And eventually, hopefully, win the match. Alright, here there's the D.Va. This is the thing you can do against D.Va, just damage block her, physically block her, make so that she can't kill herself. You can stall for so much time, and you can probably get an extra 15 seconds on the enemies before they can group up. You do want to try to finish her off at the end for ult charge, but overall, I mean, it's just stuff that you can get for free, honestly. Right here, you see the Tracer. She's getting picked out a little bit. Oftentimes, that will happen. People will just push up without realizing that somebody on their team is dead, or just, that they have to wait for someone on their team. And separating them is just a good overall strategy. Right here, of course, they're pushing up. They are up a few characters, or up a few players, I mean. So, we can go pretty offensively on defense. And again, that's something you kind of have to do. Right there, Shadow was just blocking the health pack with his body, which you can do. One other thing that I did write down, though, on defense that you might want to keep in mind is that if the enemy team has an offensive Lucio, don't focus them too much without your ultimate. I know that you kind of want to, and especially since, you think he'd be pretty easy to kill. We see this right here, that you want to go for him. But don't focus him too much. Go instead for the Mercy, for the Ana, and then for the McCree and Soldier, all those characters before trying to go for the Lucio. I feel like he's just a little bit too hard for you to finish off. Your damage just isn't quite high enough, and unless he's already at like half health when you go in, you're probably not going to be able to kill him fast enough to really be worth your time. Right now they're finishing it off right here, kind of. Just trying to damage block that. And just swinging around, trying to get to the back line behind them. There's really no reason to not do this. Especially since his team is down a few members. He's hoping that maybe he can carry at the end right now. Because, there is always the chance they can do that. He walks in, happens to kill this McCree right here pretty good. Gets a lot of damage on the tanks, but then realizes, I'm probably dead here. The majority of my team's dead. Waits out, whatever. Another thing I wrote that I think you might want to keep in mind is that if your ultimate, or if your Mercy is ulting with a Valkyrie, you should be going really ham. Especially if you have Blade. If she's healing you while you're blading, you can go extremely ham because you're getting all that healing per second. And as well, even if you die, you can trade 1 for 1. If you get 1 kill and then you get rezzed, that still will win you the team fight in most cases, especially on offense. On defense, it can be kind of hard because you don't really want to waste the rezzes as much. But on offense, that's almost always worth it and something you should go for. And we see that kind of right here. They're pushing up really far. I think he's going to get his ultimate up pretty soon. And the Valkyrie is going to also come up pretty soon. So that's why I wanted to give you guys that idea because, yeah, he uses it in a second. Speaking of using ultimate, as well, if you do have like a Zenyatta or an Ana, always ask that you can get a few, some healing on yourself. The Ana can just shoot you and that'll heal you up for 75 health for the first, like, literally 1 second of your ultimate, but that might be enough health just to save you. And then the Zenyatta should always be giving you the orb when you're ulting, but often he just doesn't really realize that you're going to be ulting, you won't go in with the orb, and you're going to die. But if you do have the orb and you ask for it beforehand, you might be able to win that, and you might be able to, take out that blade and wipe the enemy team. So do just make sure to ask for that in voice chat. That's something you shouldn't really have to, but it's something you should get used to doing. Finally, at the end right here is target prioritization. It's just really good. He knows who to target first. He goes after this guy, tries to go after the Tracer. Doesn't really work too well for him, so he just waits, goes after the next guy. And yeah, it works out pretty well. In a few seconds, I think once they eventually push up a little bit past this point, we see even better target prioritization where he ends up killing the Zen, the McCree, and the Hog, all in the correct order. That's essentially what you want to do. And again, he does it really, really safely. Right here, he's walking around the back line, playing pretty safe, and making sure that he doesn't, just essentially let himself be able to be picked off. And I guess on defense, that's one thing that's kind of hard about Genji is that you do kind of just want to hide right behind the enemies, because if you do that, it'll make it really hard for them to kind of pick you off, because if they start to walk backwards a little bit, your team can counter engage on them really quickly. Shadow right there gets a super good pick on the Tracer. Just does what he does often. Goes up to the back line, happens to pick off, I think right here, yeah, the Zen, and then the McCree, and then finally finishes it off on this Roadhog. Again, right there, he could have just changed his attention to going after the Lucio. It might have been a better idea, but probably not, because it's a lot more effective to just finish off that Roadhog. Goes after the McCree again because he got rezzed, and then finally just tries to finish off this Mercy. Ults, takes her out, and that's just kind of all she wrote. And again, the McCree got rezzed twice, so whatever. That McCree got super lucky, I guess, but didn't work out way too well for them anyways. Overall, though, I feel like there's a lot to be learned from Shatter. He really knows what to do on defense, getting those counter engages, getting a lot of damage out, and just making sure that even if he dies, he at least goes 1-for-1 almost every single time. Anyways, as always, guys, that's all I'm going to say. Shatter, again, is a really good player. He has his own YouTube channel. I definitely recommend to check it out. Sorry if my voice is dying a little bit. I've recorded this entire video right before this, and it all got deleted, so whatever. Hope that I wasn't too much of a broken record to myself, I guess. Anyways, as always, guys, thank you all for watching. Press that like button if you want to see more videos like this in the future. Hit subscribe and the notification button to do that as well. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.